like you to all please make welcome, give a Brisbane welcome, and Stop 5G Global welcome to Barrister Ray Broomhall.
Thank you, everyone. Wow, this is awesome. Wow, tell you what, the momentum for this 5G, Stop 5G stuff is absolutely amazing. And I'm going to try and tell you something today that you've never heard before. Okay, my entire talk is going to be new. Okay, so you've never heard of it before. Some of it you sort of get a bit of twang on. There's a bit of spin around it, but we're going to look at the new side of law and how we can stop things. So this is all about solutions. Okay, empowerment, as they say. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to just go through some things. We're going to go through, got a bit of a schedule here, okay? So first we're going to talk a little bit about some of the spin that comes out and how that affects things and what's going on. We're going to do a demonstration. Now, I need some people here, put your hand up if you're under 25 years of age, please. Okay. Like, really? Come on. Okay. Right, well, what I'm going to do, if I could get the 25-year-olds to come out the front, please, under 25, all of you, please. Right now. That's right. Okay. We're going to do an experiment, and this is going to be a visual experiment, and you can tell I haven't... Do I know you? Do I know you? Hello. How are you? Anybody else under 25 here? We've got a young lady over here on the left. You're under 25, aren't you, darling? Yep, I think you are. Would you like to come out the front? Is that all right? Now, you're probably wondering why I'm picking on kids, sorry, not kids, young adults and young children. Is because they're the most vulnerable, and that's what this whole talk's about, is these guys, okay? Right, so let's get into it. Okay, now I need some people who are older than 25 to come and stand over that side. So we've got any volunteers? Okay, yeah, oh, thank you, sir, very nice of you. Okay, we might get 3 to steam it up. And I need 1 more, is that all right? Just to stand on this side. That's all right? Thank you, great. All right, now, I'm going to zap you all with some frequency. You're going to see some reactions, I hope, okay? Right, so let's go. Now, I better warn you, the demonstration we're about to do might affect some of you, okay? Some of you are going to sit there going, oh, don't feel a thing. But some of you are going to do this. I'm serious, okay? This is probably the best demonstration to explain to you what this poor lady is all about, okay? And if you have a look at it, I'm not crazy, please believe me. It's real, it's hurting me, I am sick, and I can feel the radiation. A lot of my clients and a lot of people I've met meet me like this, okay? So let's have a little look. What's going on here, folks? Here we go. Now, this is our demonstration. This is a news report, okay, about a device called the Mosquito. Has anybody heard of that before? Okay. What the Mosquito is a teen deterrent, but in this case they're using it against homeless people to get rid of them out of parks, etc., and they're using frequencies to do that, okay? And they're using 17.5 kilohertz frequency to do it. So this is a really good demonstration of what's going on. So what I want you to do is watch the video. I don't have to do a thing. And I want you to watch these guys and see if you can see something going on.
Oh, Ray, did you say 17.5 kilohertz or?
No, it's kilohertz.
Kilohertz, right.
It's not, yeah, it's kilohertz, which is, it's not that great, okay? But let's see what it does. Okay, can we play it, gentlemen?
In Far North Queensland, a group of Cairns businesses has requested drastic measures to curb high rates of property crime. Building owners are using high-frequency noise emitters which blast a constant pitch throughout the night, but there are concerns it's affecting some of the city's most vulnerable people.
The Commonwealth Games are in town, but this is the buzz on the main street of Cairns. Every night between 9 p.m. and 6 a.m, the noise is constant and can be heard up to hundreds of metres away. It's designed to stop people loitering around these shops.
Well, I walk past here quite often. I'm wondering why it hasn't been reported or something hasn't been done about it. It's quite irritating. It really gets on your nerves.
Businesses say something was needed to stop their properties being damaged.
Our small business owner requested this building owner, could you put on and install like alarm or sort of stuff for your protect our business? Then they said yes.
Maso Nakayama runs a cafe here. He and other tenants say they feel unsafe.
Big trouble, especially night time. Homeless people sleeping around here, and sometimes they drink and smash the windows.
The property managers aren't breaking any laws. You don't need a council permit to install the device. But even a key business lobby group questions whether this noise is a good look for a tourist town.
Well, the noise deterrent one concerns me, but when you have such a problem where you feel there's not enough things being done to fix it, then they're going to look for other ways to reduce crime, reduce theft, protect their staff.
Some experts argue Sonic Security unfairly targets the homeless, and forcing them to move on isn't the answer.
All you're doing is driving the problem into the fringes, but when that happens, these people are even more at risk, because when there's nobody to support them, the chances of them being in danger, the chances of something bad happening to them is so much more.
Homeless services say while there's no easy answers, more social housing would be a step in the right direction. Brendan Mounter, ABC News, Cairns.
Thank you. Right. Now, I noticed you didn't react. Okay, did you hear that? Yeah. Was it really horrible? Not really? Okay, how did you feel?
It feels terrible in the ears, like it's like screaming.
Okay, was it really, really loud?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, do you want to tell me a little bit more? How did you feel? Could you put up with that? Could you put up with that, say, 24 hours a day?
I don't know.
You think you could or not?
No.
No, and why is that?
Because it can hurt every day and you feel like you want to go away.
Now, you said hurt. Did it actually hurt you, did it?
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to tell us how it hurt you? Just did it feel like pain?
It felt a little bit pain.
Okay. Thank you for that. Thank you.
That's the noise they're already putting out of the small cells that are across the road from our house. So I didn't have a reaction because my mum and we already hear that every night. It's probably on during the day, but it's a different frequency, so it's not as loud and pitched, but that's what it is at night around 12 to 5. So when people start getting up for work, they change the frequency already.
So when you say they, who are you talking about? Your neighbours or some... Who are you?
Whoever's controlling the towers. There were 3 towers put in between our 2 little towns. There's about a population of 5,000 people there. 2 of them aren't on the website, but they're all up and running, and we're told the 2 that aren't on the website, they're not even proposed. We're told they're 4G towers, but they're 5G towers.
Thank you. Now, thank you for that. Now, put your hand up here if that sounded like the ringing in your ears. Some of you would have heard it, that EHS people hear every day. Put your hand up. Okay, thank you. It's quite a lot of you. Okay. Now, did you hear anything?
Yes, I heard it a lot before. Last Tuesday at trivia night, it was in my ears. And it's really painful at the beginning, but I'm used to it. Like this girl, so I just adjust. That's about it.
Okay. Now, do you think you could study with that noise in the background or do an exam or something like that?
I don't think I want to.
Thank you. Thank you. A hand for these lovely children. Thank you. Lovely young adults.
The noise actually makes it hard to concentrate and study. Well, I'm currently doing my HSC online because I'm not very close to school and I don't have a way to really get there. So it makes it really hard to study when they've got it on, and yeah.
Now, so this is our young folks. Let's go and have a talk to the older generation, if you don't mind me saying so. Okay, now, did you hear that, sir?
Yes, I did hear it.
All of it or just some of it?
Oh, just some of it.
So you didn't hear the continuous screech all the way through that video?
No, no.
So how did that feel to you?
I thought it was very imposing on a person to have that, and I wouldn't put up with it all through the night. I mean, they didn't get council approval, they didn't need it, but surely they could have made arrangements with the council and the police to move these people on, have cameras.
What if I told you that in Western Australia the police have actually, they're actually saying, go for it, we want you to control the people, the population with this, this device. How would you feel about that?
Am I allowed to swear?
Yes, go for it. It's a free world.
She does. Sorry. I actually have tinnitus, so that was like a louder, more annoying version of what I mostly notice in winter, because I live in the bush, and in summertime there's lots of background noise of frogs and bugs and stuff, bats. But yeah, that's awful. That's absolutely awful.
So will that be a pretty good summation of what you've been hearing for quite a while?
It's been quite a few years now. And it's like just recently I was lying in bed going, I'm just going to try and pretend that's some water pipe in the next room, and it changes a lot. Sometimes it's just sort of and then other times it's like that.
And did anyone, if I may, can we, I just want to, did anybody treat you like this lady when you tried to tell them? See, they reckon this 5G is really good, but you can't get it right.
I've only kind of recently attributed it to, well, that it could be possibly caused by this. I've never had it sort of checked out because doctors say, oh, there's nothing you can do for it. I thought it could have been caused by lifestyle choices, diet choices, but yeah, I only just recently started to think about this.
Okay, put your hands up if you're starting to notice, you're starting to get this ringing in your ears. Put your hands up, folks. Okay. Did you have it before? Or is this just something that's sort of cropped up? Okay. Right, let's have a final chat. Hello.
Hello.
So did you hear all that?
Certainly did, yes.
All the way through or just bits?
All of it.
Now, do you suspect that you might be sensitive to this stuff? How do you know that?
Because I've been, under, I call it, attack of this sort of thing, and recently, the reaction I had was the noise was not a problem, and I haven't had the noise problem actually, but I've had the nausea, and so what started happening is I started becoming feeling very, I still do, and it's continued, but also my heart is really feeling.
So you're getting heart palpitations?
Not palpitations, but it's really feeling stressed or hurting a little bit, and it's actually gone down my arm, and I've still got the effects. In fact, I'm now heating up, so I mean, whether it's my memory coming into effect of what happened last week or the week before, but mostly it's nausea.
Do you get brain fog?
I have, yes. Since I've, that's exactly, it's a memory thing. So I've been trying to deal with that, yeah.
With brain fog, folks, and this is one thing I've noticed with a lot of people, is they come across as a bit, in some cases, when they're in the brain fog realm, get very scatterbrained, okay? Now, I don't know if any of you watched my talk in Western Australia, okay? I was scatterbrained at that time, okay? I was literally bombarded in my hotel room. My computer crashed. It was playing up, mouse going everywhere. It was definitely being hit with something. And I turned up there and I could not think of a thing. It was horrible. So you'll probably notice a difference from this talk today to that one that you saw in Western Australia. It also happened in Wilson's Creek, would you believe it, when I did a talk down there. Okay, when we worked to stop the tower over there, didn't we? Victoria, yes. Okay. Now, thank you for that. So you can take a seat. A big round of applause for these lovely people. Thank you. So that's a good demonstration of what electromagnetic radiation can do, okay? it can affect some people and not others. Now, some of you might not have heard a thing, okay? You're probably not super sensitive to it yet. But the thing with electromagnetic radiation is that there's no cure to your sensitivity. It builds up and builds up and builds up, and I can back it up with studies and whatever you want to do in law, that this stuff, you get more sensitive as the days go on, okay? So let's get into it. Let's have a little chat and get into some more stuff. So I want to first talk about spin, okay? Now, you probably hear lately we're getting this little thing here. They're starting to talk about radio waves, electromagnetic energy. The correct legal term is radiation, and I'll show you why. If I can get my doodad to work, there we go. Now we have what's called the Australian Protection Nuclear Safety Act, 1998, Section 3, and the object of the Act is not to protect you from radio waves or electromagnetic energy. What's it to protect you from? Right, and what does the definition say here? Non-ioning radiation means electromagnetic radiation. It doesn't say radio waves. Okay? Radiation means non-ionising radiation. Okay? It's very, very misleading to start downplaying an act as to what it says in the definitions, particularly if you're an authority running it and you're supposed to be there for the education and the protection of the people. You use the Act, and that's all I'm doing. Okay, so here's something from a Panzer. What are they calling it? What is an environmental EME report? Oh, hang on, shouldn't that say radiation report? Okay. What are they calling this stuff here? Okay. Now the spin doctoring is getting even worse. This is a thing that came out against people like myself, clearly. Just bear with me. Misinformation about Australia's 5G network. Panzer is aware that there's a lot of concerning misinformation circulating throughout the community about the possible impacts of Australia's planned rollout of the 5G mobile network. Let's have a look at what they put in all their documents. Oh, here we go. Let's see where, can you find radiation in there anywhere? Okay, you're going to find, you may be aware that individuals who experience health problems that they believe may be attributed to exposure to radio waves. Oh, okay. Rightio. A Panzer World Health Organisation is not aware of any well-conducted scientific investigations where health symptoms were confirmed as a result of radio wave. Well, blah, 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 we'll keep going. There we go. We urge you to be cautious of claims from anti-5G campaigns. These campaigns are generating unfounded fear and concern within the community. We have seen increasing misinformation about effects, our role, and 5G, or radio waves, generally. Oh dear. Do they think we're silly? Okay, let's go back. Okay, now, we get these things coming out, okay? That's pretty self-explanatory, I think you can read that. I don't have to tell you. Let's have a look at another one. Okay, just have a read of that. Okay. Can my child use a mobile phone? Well, that's what my talk's about. Oh, gee, are they going to be really wild when they get to hear this? What I'm about to tell everybody. Okay, right. So, let's have a look at it. Okay, just basically says, it's recognised that the parents provide mobile phones to their children for different reasons, including their child's personal security. Well, it's nice and nice, isn't it? As well as the assurance that the child being constantly contactable. Okay, and it goes on. Cordless phones. Okay, so you just read that. I think you've already heard all this stuff before. I don't need to go over it. Okay, it's also the same stuff, isn't it? Based on current research, there are no established health effects from the low RMF, EME, there it is again, EME, don't you love it? Exposure encountered by the public from broadcast towers. What if I told you that it is a diagnostic? The World Health Organisation, which I'm about to show you, does say that there are. And I'm jumping the gun a bit, really excited. Okay, there is no established scientific evidence that low exposure, well there it is, low exposure. What about high exposure? Okay, what about medium exposure? All right, low, okay. To RF EME from Wi-Fi adversely affects the health of children or the general population. So they're starting to get a bit worried, aren't they, folks? The kids. And I'm going to tell you why. Okay, there we go again. The usual stuff. No adverse health effects. Okay? Well, get ready, folks. Right, remember we had before a man from Geovital? Smart Nappy, there it is. Okay? That's real. There it is. They've even got little patches that go inside the nappy. Okay? Now, something has to talk to that nappy. It's called 5G. Alright, now let's have a look at this. This is the thing that protects us, folks, in Australia. It's called the maximum exposure levels radio frequency fields, 3 kilohertz to 300 gigahertz. Now, if you have a look, that's from a Panzer, this particular you can see here. Look at this. 1 hertz to 2,900, I should have put 2,999 hertz is not covered by the Panzer standard. 3 hertz, well 3 kilohertz is 300 hertz. 3,000 hertz, sorry, as you can see here. 300 gigahertz is 3 billion hertz. You're probably wondering, what does this mean? How come they didn't go from 0 to 300 gigahertz? Why have they got a big gap? Well, you better find out why. And I'm wild about it. All right, I think you find a lot of people are. Well, here we go. World Health Organisation. You'll find this stuff is readily available on the internet, folks. Okay? Now, if we have a look at it, public health, but let's have a look at this bit. And I'll read it out to you so some of you probably can't read it. ELF field sources and residential exposures. Hey, they're talking about exposure now. They're not talking about electromagnetic hypersensitivity or anything like that. They're talking about exposure. Electric and magnetic fields exist wherever electrical current flows, in power lines, in cables, residential wiring and electrical appliances. Electric fields arise from electric charges, are measured in volts per metre and are shielded by common materials such as wood and metal. Magnetic fields arise from the motion of electric charges, i.e. current, as expressed in Tesla, or commonly in microtesla, or millitesla, or microtesla. Can you see that? I'm going to specialise and talk to you about this one. Microtesla, it's got like a little funny U and a capital T. Okay? Let's keep going. Okay. Potential long-term health effects. We've got the short-term up the top. We're not really worried about them. Well, we are, but I want to get to this point. Okay. Now, much of the scientific research examining long-term risks from ELF magnetic field exposure has focused on childhood leukemia. In 2002, IARC published a monograph classifying ELF magnetic fields as possibly carcinogenic to humans. Now I'm about to tell you why they came up to that conclusion. Why did they say, oh, this is possibly carcinogenic to humans? What is that? Let's have a look at this. This is a smoking gun. You know, like Erin Brockovich. This classification was based on pooled analysis of epidemiological studies demonstrating consistent pattern of a twofold increase in childhood leukemia associated with average exposure in residential power frequency magnetic field above, now this is really important, 0.3 to 0.4 microtesla. Can you see that? Took me ages to find it, but there it is. There it is. That is what caused them to say that's a possible class 2B carcinogenic. That little doodad right there. Okay? The task force group concluded that additional studies since then do not alter the statistics of this classification. Now this document is still on the WHO. I think it was published in 2007. It was a little bit old, but it's there. Right, childhood leukemia is a comparative rare disease with a total annual number of new causes estimated to be 49,000 worldwide in 2000. That was 20 years ago, folks. Nearly. Average magnetic field exposures above, there it is again. 0.3 microtesla in homes are rare. Oh, really? I'm a lawyer. I'd find out whether or not they're telling them, you know, is this right? What's it like today? It is estimated that only between 1% and 4% of children live in such conditions. Now this is the WHO, folks. They're telling us that we only live in this particular scenario, that only 1.4 to 4% of kids. Well, I think you'll find that's completely changed a lot today. And I'm going to prove it. Okay? Right. If the association between magnetic fields and childhood leukemia is causal, the number of cases worldwide that might be attributable to magnetic field exposure is estimated to range from 100 to 2,400 cases per year. Now that's back on this figure, based on the values for the year 2000, representing 0.2 to 4.9% of the total incidence for that year. This is the WHO, folks. This is not some scientist coming up and saying, hey, this is my study. All right, let's keep going. Are you learning something? Good. Okay. Oh gosh, hang on. I think you find it up there. You notice all these screenshots? That's to cover my, yeah, they're all up there. So there it is, right there. Okay? Cool. All right, now let's keep going. Now it gets really exciting, folks. Go back. We'll have a look at the microtest of a baby monitor in a minute. Okay, so what we have here, this is the microtesla here. You can see the scale that we can use. So 1 UT is a microtesla. And if you want to use this as a scale to work out, because they really can bamboozle us. Oh, it's a milligauss, it's a gauss, it's a milliwatts per square metre, it's this and then blah, blah, blah. You can get really, really lost. But I'm just going to concentrate on the microtesla today. All right? Let's have a look at it. So this is the one, it shows you how many teslas it is, how many microgauss, how many milligauss, and how many gauss. All right, so it's pretty simple to work out. So, let's go back, let's get into real good stuff now. Okay, baby monitor. Okay, you can see the frequency ranges here. Okay, they're a transmitter. Okay, transmit via radio technology to a mobile receiver. That sound you just heard before, folks, was supposedly radio technology. That everyone got that ring in their ears? Okay, let's keep going. Let's see what the microtesla is for a baby monitor. What did it say in the World Health Organization? 0.3 to what? 0.4. Is that right? Okay, let's find out what a baby monitor is. 1.5 at a distance of 15.24 centimetres. Folks, it's the devices that you're using. Why do you think they put them up? Because it's all being put to these things and wanting you to buy them. These things, all right? That's what it's for. That's what you should be looking at, because these are the things that are receiving all that information and the data and the 5G. Okay, let's keep going. I'm getting a bit exhausted. Okay, need to lose some weight, I know that. All right, sitting at my desk all day, trouble doing this for you all. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So let's have a look at this really great objective study about smartphones. All right, are you learning something? All right, now, smartphones and programmable shunts, blah, blah, blah. And there's the study up the top if you want to look at it. There it is. Let's have a look at some smartphones and see how many microtesla these things are pumping out. There it is, I've highlighted it for you. Results found 62 Gauss for iPhone 5S and 61 Gauss for Samsung Galaxy S5. Yeah, okay. What does that mean? Let's go back. So remember, 61 Gauss, 62. 61, 62. So let's go back. We'll go do a little bit of screen hopping. I'm trying to be as quick as I can. I know you're all being very patient all day. Guys, is there a reason why? Okay, I'll just have to come up. There we go. Okay, so what? 1 Gauss. Here it is. Okay, how many microtesla? Let's have a look. For 1 Gauss. Hey, what? Am I reading that right? So if that's 62 Gauss in that study, what? That's 60,000, is that correct, sir? 6,000, isn't it? 6,000, I better not go overboard, eh? 6,000, but the recommended what? That they said was possible B carcinogenic, class 2 B carcinogenic was at what? 0.3. 0.3. Not 1. We've got 100 here. You starting to learn something? All right, let's get going. Okay. A lot more. Wait till we get into satellites and stuff like that. Ooh, that's all fun. Okay. Let's keep going. Right. Now, here we go. Indoor localisation using a magnetic flux density map of a building. Blah, blah, blah. You can see where the study is. I'm not even going to read it. You can read that yourself. But let's have a look at some of the results. Now, man, my eyesight's shocking too. Very hard to read it, but I can guarantee they're over 0.4 microtesla. There's one where it talks about holding it in their hand, and one talking where it's not held in the hand. Unfortunately, that is extremely blurry, and I can't read it to you, I'm sorry. But if you get a chance to go and have a look at that site. Okay, now this is another study. Okay, this is done in Belgrade. The Serbians are actually quite up there with a lot of electromagnetic radiation matters to do with, I guess it's because of their close association, I guess, with a big I won't say anything. Okay, anyway, abstract. This paper considers the level of the extremely low frequency magnetic field produced by the portable computers. Hey, we're into computers now. The magnetic field characterised with the low frequencies up to 300 Hertz has been measured. Now remember, this is under the guidelines, remember? The standard is 3,000 hertz. Okay? The standard doesn't even protect us from this stuff. Okay? The experiment consists of testing 10 different portable computers in normal operating conditions and under heavy load. So let's find out what they found. Okay. Here we go, table 2. You'll see here, laptop 1, laptop 2, laptop 3, 4, 5, 6. Now, I don't know if you can read it from back there, but these are all in microtesla. Can you, is that right? They're in microtesla, thank you. And it's saying here that we've got, in this one, maximum is 0.5, this one's 1.7, 0.6, 2.2, 1.37, and 1.39, I think that says. They're the maximum readings. The average, you'll see here, is about 0.1, 0.49 there, 0.1, 0.4 there, 0.5 there. They're all over the Class 2B carcinogen level, aren't they? All right, let's keep going. All right, table 6 and 7. Well, this was an eye-opener when I saw this one. Okay, maximum's 5.7. Okay, microtesla for laptop 7, I think it said. 2.39. Apologies for this, but I think you get the drift. Okay. What's that? Yeah, so Vic's saying that all the averages are over 0.3. Okay, so let's have now a look at the EMF Management Handbook, produced in January 2016. Okay. And what it's saying here, personal computer. Why are they producing it saying a personal computer? This is actually an Australian engineering handbook. Why is it telling us that it's 2 microtesla? Do you think our fans are backing this up? What does it say here? Source, a Panzer, measuring magnetic fields. Oh, they're not going to like me telling you this, are they? Okay, let's keep going. Let's have a look at our fans are. Let's see what they say about this. Oh, it's on their website. There it is. A personal computer. Okay. 2 microtesla. They know that it already goes over 0.4 or 0.3. Okay. Sorry, is that milliamps? Oh, my apologies. What's that in? That's 2. That's 2. Sorry, my apologies. That's 2 microtesla. Thank you, Vic. That's 2 microtesla. That's actually, I think that's 0.2, isn't it? There's 0.2 and that's 2. Okay? So it's still way over 0.3 or 4. All right, let's keep going. Okay. Now, this is the standard that, as I said to you, it cuts off at 3 kilohertz. Okay? Doesn't go from 0. I think it should. Oops, let's go back. Let's read this. In a study in Sydney, Hockey FL, I think that says 1996, does it? I can't read it very well, 7 or 8. That's really bad. Showed increased incidence of mortality rates of childhood leukemia in the 3 local authority and close to VHF TV transmitters compared to a number of areas further away. So in essence, what this document is saying is that they knew that childhood leukemia, which is what the Class 2B carcinogenic issue was about, there it is. That's the ICNIRP. Now I'm going to, I don't know if you ever heard of a gentleman called Mr. Rapaccioli. You heard of him? Yes. Okay. He used to be the head of ICNIRP. He actually founded it. He's an Australian. Went over and set up this thing with the WHO. Let's have a quick look at that. Okay, this is some of the highlights, they're everywhere, talking about leukemia. And he talks about, unfortunately, that is a really bad, he talks about the IARC, and he's basically saying that it's a possible human carcinogen. Can you see it there? This is the precursor to setting up as being a Class 2B. And then he says in the same report, this is the head that used to be the head of ICNIRP, some diseases are limited to the embryo, child or adolescent. That's interesting. Seems to be other diseases that occur in children. And adults manifest themselves differently in children. You notice how kids react different? Okay. Okay. Of particular relevance to EMF exposure are childhood leukemia and brain cancer. There is consistent evidence from epidemiologic studies of a risk of childhood leukemia associated with exposure to environmentally high levels of ELF magnetic fields. Would you consider some of those levels that we talked about high level? Yep. The importance of longer lifetime exposure has been emphasised by a recent study in which acoustic neuroma occurred only after a 10-year use of mobile phones. That's what Dr. Cooper was talking about. Some scientific uncertainty can be addressed through both the application of precautionary policies and through additional research. What the precautionary principle means is that if there's scientific uncertainty, then you should err on caution. That's what it means. Okay? And do you think we have some clear scientific uncertainty here, maybe? Okay. Now, I probably won't bore you with that. You can have a look at that on the internet, because I can't read it. It's a bit weird. Here I'm trying to steer you through, but I think you'll see here, he actually talks about, I'm pretty sure it says it there, about the 0.3 UT, microtesla. There it is. Even ICNIRP knew about it. So did the WHO. So did our lot. One recent study found an increased risk of childhood leukemia with high material occupational exposures during pregnancy. Oh, really? We didn't know about that. An increased risk of childhood leukemia has been found to be consistent, is it? Consistently? Is that what it says? Consistently associated. Well, that's a pretty big word to use. With exposure, there it is, to environmental levels of power frequency magnetic fields in levels very much below present guidance. Present guidance, folks, is our standards. Results of, okay, it says here, oh, here it is. Results of dozens of increasing sophisticated studies. And the two, can anyone read that for me, please? I can't read. The two-field analysis have reported a doubling of risk for children exposed to magnetic fields greater than 0.3 to 0.4 microtesla, compared with children exposed to fields less than 0.1 of a microtesla. Is that correct, Victor? Thank you. I think the MR's getting my eyesight's pretty bad. Sit in front of that screen, all of you lot. Okay, let's keep going. Okay, so I can't read that for the love of money, so I won't go there. But anyway, I think you get the picture. Okay? Let's keep going. I've got heaps more to tell you. All right. Now, what have we got here? This is IARC, which is the International Agency for Research on Cancer. This is the document I think our friend from Geovital raised before, and this is talking about the Class 2B carcinogen. Okay, that's basically if you want to look at that. So number 2A it is. All right, we'll keep going. I think that's it. We're ready for number 2. Well, good lads. Now we're going to get into real good stuff. Space. We're going to get into assault. We're going to get into this. Oh, hello. Good looking fella, isn't he? Okay, here we go. Right. Okay, so let's have a look at this now. Assault against children. Duty of care to children. Wow. Sort of ups the ante a bit, doesn't it? They have a duty of care against me. Well, hang on, what about my kids? All right, so let's keep going. I've got 4 daughters, by the way. I absolutely love them. Let's have a look at this. Can I get the police to do something about this? Wow. Are you feeling empowered? Okay. So let's have a look at this. What does that say? West Australia Police, protect and serve. Okay. What does this say? Northern Territory Police? Serve and protect. Queensland. Oh, what happened to the protection bit? Okay. And look, we've got a customer service charter here. These guys are actually really nice blokes and ladies. They're a really good organisation. I mean, this shows you how they feel about everything. Great. All right, let's keep going. Now, I'm going to read you a letter that I wrote for a lovely lady in New South Wales, and she just happens to be sitting in the back. Hello, everyone. Is that all right if I talk about this one? I've redacted it so you don't know who it is. Okay. But look at this. Domestic Violence Liaison Officer Sergeant. Okay? Da-da-da-da. Dear Sergeant, urgent request for you to make application for a provisional apprehended personal violence order. Whoa, this sounds pretty serious. Okay, so let's go and read this letter, shall we? It'll be very open. Okay. We are in genuine fear that, you might as well just put telco there. Its agent, just the telco's agent, PR or people that are spruiking the, hey, we're going to do this, an employee collectively called the joint enterprise of, just haven't had their address but you don't see it there, have by their conduct threatened to abuse and assault our children. Evidence of the intention of the joint enterprise to apply force via electromagnetic energy is found within the electromagnetic energy EME report published by the joint enterprise for the road where the facility is, found within the Radio Frequency National Site Archive. See the attached EME report. This gets really good now, folks. The proposed application of force will be a permanent assault upon us 24 hours a day and will render our home uninhabitable, thus damaging and contaminating our home. Our family will become homeless. We do not consent to such an application of force against our children, our person and our home. On 16th of June 2019, the joint enterprise was provided with a detailed medical advice from our doctor. That was Dr. Cooper, a lovely fellow. That their proposed activities pose, there it is, an extreme risk of harm. That's what the doctor advised, to the health of our children. They were also provided with legal advice, I wonder where they got that from, on the 17th of May 2019, warning that if they continue with their activities, our children are at risk of being victims to assault. See attached copy of the medical and legal advice. And you're probably wondering, I've been talking to you about, you've probably seen on videos that I've done in the past, it's all about evidence gathering. Well, now we're applying it, okay? However, the joint enterprise has disregarded the medical opinion, advising that their proposed activity poses an extreme risk of harm. The joint enterprise subsequently informed us by means of a letter and a telephone call that they intend to proceed with the construction of the small cell facility. The small cell facility is the instrument by which they intend to use as a means to apply force against our children. I'm going to get into law in a minute. Evidence of this intention is by means of a joint enterprise letter dated the 17th of June 2019 that we received on the evening of 17th of June, stating that, after considering these factors, Telco now advises it will be proceeding.
And then we want to have those circuits off at night when we're sleeping to prevent that.
Is estimated to range from 100 against our children. I'm going to get into law in a minute. Of the Interpretation Act, thinking, what's this idiot talking about assault? We are in genuine fear that evidence of the intent is well founded. I support her concerns to avoid exposure wherever possible. Most importantly, the small cell facility is the instrument by which they intend to use as a means to apply force against our children. I'm going to get into law in a minute. Evidence of this intention is by means of a joint enterprise letter dated the 17th of June 2019 that we received on the evening of 17th of June, stating that, after considering these factors, Telco now advises it will be proceeding with the construction of this small cell facility, and construction is likely to occur after the months of July and August. Hence the urgency of getting this letter out. Okay? On reading this letter, now this is the important part, folks, and the rest of my talk, you will all make sense. All right? Thinking, what's this idiot talking about assault? But you'll know what I'm talking about in a minute. On reading this letter, our family became extremely intimidated, distraught, alarmed, and fearful that the joint enterprise now has the express, reckless intent to irradiate our home with electromagnetic energy and intends to apply force against our persons. We have contacted and phoned the joint enterprise begging them to reconsider their decision, but at present there has been no respite. We now live in intimidation, extreme fear, and are extremely frightened for the safety of our children, our persons, and our home. Our anxiety and fear was extremely overwhelming in regards to the letter, which resulted in a member of our family seeking medical treatment to address her anxiety. Subsequently, our doctor drafted a letter evidencing that fact. Lawyers love evidence. Okay? An extract from the doctor's letter is as follows. Here it is. This is just an extract. Mrs. informed me that she has received a letter from the telco through that construction of the wireless base station, the existing utility pole, will commence on the July 2019 in spite of her objections and a medical report from myself. This has caused her extreme anxiety. She felt intimidated and alarmed by the letter of notification to commence construction of the wireless base station. It's my professional opinion that the risk to Mrs. and her family's health in relation to exposure from any RME emitting source is well founded. I support her concerns to avoid exposure wherever possible. Most importantly is to avoid non-consensual RF EME environment which she cannot remove herself from, as the safety of her home will now be contaminated with unremitting 24-hour-a-day radio frequency electromagnetic radiation and will most likely cause her to have a chronic neurological symptoms, reducing her functionality as a mother, a wife and a direct manager of her business enterprise. The joint enterprise would in all circumstances have reasonably foreseen, now I don't know if there's any lawyers out here, but I think this is starting to sound very familiar, what that means. Okay. That their letter and informing us and our children that they intend to proceed to irradiate or apply force, or it's the same thing, would cause alarm and fear in the minds of our family. We consider the letter to be a direct threat that they intend to assault our children and us. The threat being that they intend to apply force in the form of electromagnetic energy. Such an action would constitute an assault and is a crime as per Section 31 of the Crimes Act, New South Wales. You have the same thing in Queensland and Queensland Tassie, they're all over the place. Now this is the law. Here we go. Don't you like the law? The threat being that they intend to apply force in the form of electromagnetic radiation, as I just said, constitutes an assault. So let's read the actual section. A person who A, assaults or threatens to assault. See that? Threatens to assault. Another person with intent to commit an indictable offence is guilty of an indictable offence. Penalty, look at that. 5 years maximum. In subsection 1, assault means the direct or indirect application of force by a person to the body of or to clothing or equipment worn by another person where the application of force is without lawful excuse. I don't consent to you doing that, thank you. And B, with intent to inflict or being reckless. It's not such the intent to inflict, it's more about the reckless bit, as the infliction of bodily injury, pain, and look at this, discomfort, damage, can't live in my home, insult or deprivation of liberty, and results in the infliction of such consequence, whether or not the consequence inflicted is the consequence intended or foreseen. And look at this. This is that cliffhanger. In subsection 2, application of force includes A, application of heat, light, electric current, or any other form of energy. I love the law. Okay. Now, what I even love better is their spin. If they had just said, oh, any other form of radiation, it's not there, but they've got energy, so, oh well, too bad. Okay, we got them. All right, let's keep going. Clearly, the application of force definition is found in section 313. Applies to electromagnetic energy. Further, each member of the joint enterprise is classed as a person. See section 25(1) of the Interpretation Act 1987, New South Wales. Gosh, I'm thorough. Hey. Which provides that the person includes an individual, a corporation, holy cow, and a body corporate or politic. When I see that, I have a field day. Okay, I don't have to tell you what that means. Their conduct is reckless and may place our children in danger of serious injury, and thus Section 23 of the Crimes Act should apply. Section 23 provides that a person who, without lawful excuse, recklessly engages in conduct that places or may place another person in danger of serious injury is guilty of an indictable offence. Is this clear? Is this making sense? Good. We acting on behalf of our children, request, oh, now we're getting really interesting, request that you, pursuant to section 27 of the Crimes, Domestic and Personal Violence a corporation, holy cow, and a body corporate or politic. When I see that, I have a field day. Okay, I don't have to tell you what that means. Their conduct is reckless and may place their children in danger of serious injury, and thus Section 23 of the Crimes Act should apply. Section 23 provides that a person who, without lawful excuse, recklessly engages in conduct that places or may place another person in danger of serious injury is guilty of an indictable offence. Is this clear? Is this making sense? Good. We acting on behalf of our children, request, oh, now we're getting really interesting, request that you, pursuant to section 27 of the Crimes, Domestic and Personal Violence Act 2007, make application for a provisional apprehended personal violence order against members of the joint enterprise. If in your opinion the requisite circumstances apply, then pursuant to the Act, you have no discretion and you have an obligation and must make application. This is to the police. And there's the section that says there, Okay? And he has to have good reason to believe that an order needs to be made immediately to ensure the safety and protection of the person. That's basically what that talks about. Okay? Okay? Let's keep going. And, I forgot the other bit, to prevent substantial damage to any property of that person. That's called a home, you dickhead. Council? What are you, the castle, sorry? It's a home, you dickhead. Okay. Should have been a comedian. We consider that the circumstances warrant that you and the New South Police enact its duty of care to protect our children. The circumstance of our children is that they risk being abused and assaulted by the general enterprise. Our children and their circumstances on point with Section 227 of the Children and Young Persons Care and Protection Act regarding child and young person abuse. Section 227 provides a person who intentionally takes action that has resulted in or appears likely to result in the physical injury of a child or young person, or a child or young person suffering emotional or psychological harm. Are they scared? Well, mum and dad are. Okay? Of such a crime that the emotional intellectual development of the child or young person is likely to be significantly damaged, or the physical development or health of the child being significantly harmed, is guilty of an offence. So let's keep going. I've got more. I also refer you to Section 123 of the Children and Young Persons Care and Protection Act concerning a child, young person at risk of significant harm, and if current concerns, well anyway, you can read that, I don't need to go into that every word for whatever. Further, as you are a police officer, an application for an order must be made if you suspect or believe that an offence has or is likely of such a crime that the emotional intellectual development of the child or young person is likely takes action that has resulted. The circumstance of our children. Sorry? Okay. Dickhead. Okay. The castle, sorry? It's a home, you dickhead. To any property of that person. That's called a home, you dickhead. To any property. And, okay. And he has to have. This is to the police. Discretion. Violence Act 2007. Make application for a provisional apprehended personal violence order against members of the joint enterprise. If in your opinion the requisite circumstances apply, then pursuant to the Act, you have no discretion. And you have an obligation and must make application. This is to the police. And there's the section that says there. Okay? And he has to have good reason to believe that an order needs to be made immediately to ensure the safety and protection of the person. That's basically what that talks about. That person. That's called a home, you dickhead. Should have been a comedian. We consider that the circumstances warrant that you and the New South Police enact its duty of care to protect our children. The circumstance of our children is that they risk being abused and assaulted by the general enterprise. Our children and their circumstances on point with Section 227 of the Children and Young Persons Care and Protection Act regarding child and young person abuse. Section 227 provides a person who intentionally takes action that has resulted in or appears likely to result in the physical injury of a child or young person, or a child or young person suffering emotional or psychological harm. Are they scared? Well, mum and dad are. Okay? Of such a crime that the emotional intellectual development of the child or young person is likely to be significantly damaged, or the physical development or health of the child being significantly harmed, is guilty of an offence. So let's keep going. I've got more. I also refer you to Section 123 of the Children and Young Persons Care and Protection Act concerning a child, young person at risk of significant harm, And if current concerns, well, anyway, you can read that. I don't need to go into that every word for whatever. Further, as you are a police officer, an application for an order must be made if you suspect or believe that an offence has or is likely to be committed. Section 49 of the Crimes Domestic Act says this: circumstances in which police must make application for an order. So this takes this out of your hands. You just get the police to do it. We don't have to go to court, the police do it. Okay? If they don't do it, then we go to court. But we take more than just the telco to court if they don't do it. You get it? An application for an order must be made if a police officer investigating a matter concerned suspects or believes, no one needs to be suspect or believes, an offence under section 227 abuse has happened and has recently been committed or is imminent or is likely to be committed against the person the correction order would be made. And the application may be made by any police officer. We also know, this is the doozy, I always have a backup. We also know that there is a mandatory reporting requirement that you as a law enforcement officer must make if you have reasonable grounds to suspect that a child is at risk of significant harm, such as physical abuse and or emotional or psychological abuse, and those grounds arise during the course or from your work. Please note that even though you're obligated to make a mandatory report, so they're obligated to report this to the Secretary of the Child, the Secretary under that Act. So, and I've said this, even though you are obligated to make a mandatory report, the Secretary, pursuant to Section 227 A of the Children and Young Persons Care and Protection Act, will most likely refer the matter back to New South Wales Police, as this is clearly a police matter. We already know that's where it's going to go. Please make note that we as parents rely on the duty of care that Section 8C of the Children and Young Persons Care and Protection Act places upon you, and that appropriate assistance by New South Wales Police is provided to assist us as parents in our performance to promote a safe and nurturing environment. Listen to this. That appropriate assistance is rendered to parents and other persons responsible for children and persons in the performance of their child-rearing responsibilities in order to promote a safe and nurturing environment. Do you think mum and dad have done the right thing? And they want assistance? That's what this is all about. Help. That's your duty, is it not? Further, we rely upon Section 9 of the Children and Young Persons Care and Protection Act and say that you have a duty of care to ensure help. That's your duty, is it not? Further, we rely upon Section 9 of the Children and Young Persons Care and Protection. Listen to this. That appropriate assistance is rendered to parents and other persons responsible for children and persons in the performance of their child-rearing responsibilities in order to promote a safe and nurturing environment. Do you think mum and dad have done the right thing? And they want assistance? That's what this is all about. Help. That's your duty, is it not? Further, we rely upon Section 9 of the Children and Young Persons Care and Protection Act and say that you have a duty of care to ensure that the safety, welfare and well-being of our children is paramount. There it is, in any decision that you make. And Section 9 says this: this Act is to be administered under the principle, that's the precautionary principle, folks, that's what that is, that in any action or decision concerning a particular child or young person, the safety, welfare and well-being of the child or young person are paramount. So this poor police officer is going to get this, and he's going to go, I've got a what? I've got to give a what against the telco? What? I've never heard of this one, but it's paramount, and they're not. And there we go. And we understand that you as a police officer can apply for a provisional violence order as provided by Section 26, okay? And there it is. I don't need to go any further than that. Oh, this is the important bit. An application may be made any time and whether or not the court is sitting. An application may be made by telephone, facsimile or other communication device. What I'm saying is that the police don't even have to go to court. It's just an interim order or a provisional order, a magistrate stamps and says, right. The other side don't even go to court. It's what we call ex parte, which means it's done in their absence. All of a sudden they're going to be slammed with one of these things, not even knowing about it. That's the beauty of it. You understand that? They do it to us. Is that the utmost urgency as the joint enterprises informed us that they will intend to construct a small cell facility anytime this month. In light of all the above, we consider that it's your duty to make application for an urgent basis for a provisional apprehended personal violence order against the members of the joint enterprise. We know that pursuant to section 25, our children, as the protected persons, can request that you make application. Well, the kids can't do that, can they? So, and it says here, an application for a provisional order may be made at the request of the protected person or the applicant offers his own initiative. So in this case, the law only provides that the protected person makes the application, not the parents or the police officer. Therefore, on behalf of our children, we humbly ask that you perform such a duty. Wow. When did they get that? Friday. There you go, right? Is this new? Have you heard of this stuff before? Okay. Now, this is what the order looks like. This is called a... Oh, I can't read it. Anyway, that's a copy of... You'll see it on when you get to some of the slides later. That's actually an actual order. There. Okay? But I can't read it to you, so... Okay. Right. Let's go on to something completely different, as Monty Python says. I'm now going to teach you something that you never realised existed. Is exposure to non-ionising radiation or electromagnetic radiation an adverse health effect? What do you think? Well, I think you might be right. Let's keep going. You heard of this before? World Health Organisation. We have what's called an ICD-10. Any nurses or doctors out here heard of that? Anyone heard of that? That's a diagnostic criteria for billable codes for, I'll read it, for classification of diseases. What's a disease? Break it up, dis-ease is what it means. It's I'm not at ease. That's what a disease is. Now this is the US. A billable code that can be used to indicate a diagnosis on a reimbursement claim and should only be used for claims with the date of service that goes on. It should describe the circumstances causing an injury, not the nature of the injury. But look at this. Applies to overexposure to microwave radiation. There it is. High-powered radio and television transmitters, industrial radio frequency induction heaters, and radar installations. And there it is. I've sort of gone a bit further. But you can see there, radio awakening. Look at this one. Radio frequency radiation, any, includes non-ionising, ionising, radio waves, electromagnetic energy, RF, EME, whatever you want to call it. But there it all is, okay? Let's keep going. This is the diagnostic code for exposure to radio frequency, initial encounter. It's about this, folks, exposure. A doctor just says, okay, well, I believe that you've been exposed to this or you're about to be exposed. So let's have a look at that. Now it says here it causes, anyway, I'll keep going. I won't rave on about that. There you go, just read that. There it is there. It's a W90 exposure to other non-ionising radiation. This is in the US. I'll keep going. Now, this is from the WHO, the World Health Organization. This chapter, external causes of morbidity and mortality. It constitutes a supplementary classification and permits the classification of environmental events and circumstances as to the cause of injury, poisoning, and there it is, and other adverse effects. Let's find out what some of these adverse effects are. And the penny will drop. Oh, before we do that, it just tells you what morbidity means. The condition of being diseased and the rate of disease in a population. Disease. Okay, there it is. Exposure to other non-ionising radiation. Who? The next one's going to make your jaw drop. And you'll know where I'm coming from. Assault is a billable code. If you've been sexually assaulted or bashed up, you have to be treated, do you not? Am I right? Okay, so you think I'm on the right track? Okay. So do we have an adverse health effect, folks? Okay, and there's all the different types of assault. And that's the one that we're dealing with. Bodily force. Application of force. Use of a weapon. Not that I'm saying it's one, but there it is. Okay? It excludes those, by the way. But yeah, there you go. Does that make sense? All right. Now, what about Australia? Well, this is where the ICD-10 comes into Australia. Okay? There it is. So we had the US, I showed you first, World Health Organization, and now Australia. All right. There we go. I won't need to go into that, but it just sort of gives you a bit of a spiel about who they are and what they've got to do. It's an independent housing pricing authority that works out for billable codes. And there we go. That's just some further research for you want to look at. Okay. Now, I wanted to raise this is about complementary medicine. You probably noticed that the AMA are trying to fight back. They're trying to fight to try and silence the doctors. Assault is not complementary medicine. Okay? With assault, you're dealing with anxiety, fear, intimidation. You're dealing with a lot of other things. We're not dealing with, what do you call it? Complementary medicine. They've sort of gone down the wrong track, I think. Okay, so let's get out of that. Now we get to the doozy. 5G in space. If I told you that I've worked out how to stop all the satellites, would you believe me? Hey, he's a true Scotsman, this man. I love him. Okay, so let's have a look at 5G in space. Let's have a little bit of a chat. Now, can we play that, please? We can't play it. Okay, that's all right. We'll just have a look at this one. All you got to do is double click on the black thing, guys. Just double click on it. There you go. Okay, well, look, folks, listen. I think we've gone back a bit. Hang on. Can you click on that? No, you can't. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Okay, so this is from the 5G Space Appeal. You've probably seen that on the internet. Good on them for doing that. But it just sort of gives you a little bit of detail as to what's going on. Each 5G base station will contain hundreds of thousands of antennas, aiming multiple laser-like beams simultaneously at all cell phones and devices in its service area. Now, how much power do you think we need? I think we need more than 0.3 of a microtesla, I think, to receive that. Don't you reckon, Victor? Yeah, I think we need to boost up the power of these things, okay, so as we can accept all these lovely lasers. I've got one right here. Oops. Cool. Okay, anyway, keep going. The technology is called multiple input, multiple output. Anyway, the effective radiated power of 5G base station beams is to be as much as 30,000 watts per 100 megahertz of spectrum, or equivalently 300,000 watts per gigahertz of spectrum. Anyway, you don't need to know, that's all science, we don't need to worry about that. But look at that, at least 5 companies are proposing to provide 5G from space with a combined 20,000 wire slots going in low and medium Earth orbit. And let's talk about the low and medium Earth orbit for a moment. They will blanket the Earth with powerful focused steerable beams, power up to 5 million watts. That's what it's going to look like, sort of. They're satellites. Yeah, hello. So, 20,000 of them. Sort of gives you that's an artist's impression, but that's sort of what it's going to look like, sort of. Okay? Now, low Earth orbit, remember they said that? It's typically a circular orbit about 400 to 900 kilometres above the Earth's surface. Hang on, didn't they tell us that 5G doesn't go very far? What? Hang on, 900 k's? What is going on? What the hell is medium orbit then? Whoops. Well, we won't go to guess geostationary. Medium Earth orbit, altitude of 20,200 kilometres. Communication satellites that cover the North and South Pole. What? 5G goes that far? Just food for thought. Geostationary is 36,000 kilometres. These are the guys that don't fall out of orbit. You know, the satellites that crash into the Earth? Well, these guys don't. They have to go out far enough to get out of the Earth's gravitational pull. 36,000 kilometres. Man, that's a long way for one little beam of 5G to go, to hit my little phone. Woo. What's this thing? Okay, we've got the Convention of International Liability for Damage Caused by Space Objects. The Liability Convention. The term damage means loss of life, personal injury, or other impairment to health, or loss of or damage to property of states or of persons, natural or juridical, or property of international intergovernmental organisations. Okay, that's basically, does anyone know what that means? I forgot. I think that's a non-NGO or something. I'm not sure. I can't remember. It's not really that important anyway. Okay, in Australia we have what's called the Australian Space Regulations, and it says here that ACMA, hey, we've heard that before. Okay. Ensures that all Australian space systems operate under the requirements of Australian legislation. Read on for the details. Have a look at it if you've got time. And it goes on, it talks about, these are all the acts, Radio Communications Act, Telecommunications Act. Oh, there's this little doozy here. The Space Activities Act, 1998, sets out the regulatory framework for commercial space activities in Australia and specifies the appropriate approvals required. Appropriate approvals? Oh, that means we can intervene. Cool. Required to undertake certain space activities, such as operating a space launch facility. The Department of Industry, Science and Resources is responsible for administering this regulatory regime. Oh, isn't that great? We're out of ACMA. Oh, what a relief. Okay. Right. So this is what I just said to you before. It's to establish a system for the regulation of space activities carried on either Australia or Australian nationals outside Australia, to provide for the payment of adequate compensation for damage caused to persons or property as a result of space activities, to implement certain of Australia's obligations, there it is, under the UN space treaties, and to implement certain of Australia's obligations. This Act does not limit the operation of other laws of the Commonwealth, Criminal Code for example. There we go. Don't worry, I'm going to get to the real good bit in a minute. Third party damage. Third party, well that's us, isn't it? That's us. Okay. So, rules for damage caused by launches and most returns. Damage on Earth. There it is. Or damage to other space objects. We're not really worried about that. We're worried about this bit. Okay? If they irradiate us and we can work out who the carrier is with our mobile phone and we know it's coming from that satellite, and I don't consent them to irradiate my home, it's going to be uninhabitable. Is that causing me damage? Okay. And look at this. Federal court has jurisdiction. Oh my God, I can take these guys to the feds. And I can put in an action for compensation. Oh gee, this is great. Oh, us lawyers have a field day. This is awesome. Now this is going to make sense to you. Can you insure for electromagnetic radiation damage or injury? What? I didn't hear you. No. I didn't say. Thank you. That's correct. You cannot get insurance, or it's extremely hard to get insurance, but yet the Space Activities Act says you have insurance requirements. If you're going to apply for a permit to irradiate this crap, you have to have insurance. Okay? And here it is. The holder, okay, this is in regards for the launch or return. Now what that means is it's liable from when you take it up there and all the time it's up there and by the time it comes down. So that entire period is what we call the liability period. Okay? So the holder of the permit or authorisation is insured to the extent required by subsection 3. Well, we can have a look at see how much insurance they've got to have for subsection 3. Okay? Against any liability that the holder might incur under this Act to pay compensation for any damage to third parties that the launch or return causes. The Commonwealth is insured to the extent against any liability of the Commonwealth. So they're not only going to insure themselves, they've got to insure the Commonwealth as well. Because under the International Space Treaty that we have, the Liability Convention, if one of our nationals causes damage in another country, we as a taxpayer have to pay it, not the telco. And so the Commonwealth put that in there as a proviso. Okay? The Commonwealth is under no duty to take out any insurance cover under this subsection. I have a funny feeling our boys in the feds are going to absolutely go bananas after they hear this. No one's heard this before. Okay. So the insurance cover mentioned may be provided by separate policies. We're not really worried about that. But what we are worried about is this. The total insurance for each launch. That's each satellite. That's not all of them. That's one. Okay? For each launch or return concern must be for an amount a lot less than the lesser amount of $750 million. Okay? There it is. So, we as people, if you've made an application, they're putting up these satellites, surely a query to about whether or not they have insurance should be made. What do you think? To the Minister? No, it's also when it's in the air. It's while it's in space. Yes, it does. I've checked it. Trust me, yeah, it's there. Otherwise, I wouldn't be talking about it. But anyway, I think it's here. I think you might find it. Launch date during the liability period for the launch. So what we need to do is look at the liability period. Is what we need to find then. Okay, so let's see if we can find it. I don't think I might have, because I had so many things to chuck up there. Nope, it's not there. Anyway, it's there. Yeah, what it covers is anything that's launched from the time it's launched to the time it's in the air, and by the time it gets down to the ground. That entire period is covered under the compensation side of things. And I even have a case where it's been done. Well, not in Australia, but... Okay, so there's damage to the earth. Now the responsible party for gross negligence, the damage resulted, that's not us. Hang on, we don't need it, there's the... I'm getting very tired. I've already explained that about the Acts Interpretation Act about a company. Okay. Responsible for the launch, so a responsible party would be the, who are they? Is it just the people that own the satellite, or is it, who is it? And basically what it does is it covers anybody that's put anything in the payload that's not actually the satellite owners, the launch, because they're going to have satellites for various companies, etc., that are inside the spacecraft. Well, that's also covered. So not only is the launcher responsible, but also the company that chucked that satellite in that launching device, if that makes sense. Okay? I'm probably boring you now, but insured amount, space object. There's the payload bit that I was telling you about. This is getting real technical, but there's the liability convention that we're talking about, and they also have to register every single satellite. Just like we have to register, they have to register for telecommunications towers on the RFNSA website. The same thing with the satellites, they have to register them under the registration convention. Right, we need to go there. Anyway, I think that's pretty much... Okay, the federal court has jurisdiction, this is a beautiful thing, to hear and determine actions for compensation for damage to which this part applies. So that gives us the right to take it to the federal court. You can take an action here against foreigners if you want to, etc. It's all there. Okay. But you've only got a year to do it. And this is the important bit. So you can take an action for compensation within 1 year after the day on which the damage occurred. All right? If when the damage occurred, the person bringing the action did not know that it had occurred within 1 year after the day on which the person became aware of the damage. So you might have, I don't know, the doctor might have said, oh, in 10 years' time, this stuff's caused you, well, we've got the biomarkers, it's definitely caused that thing. Even though it probably happened 10 years ago. This is going to open up so many can of worms, it's not funny. Okay. And you've got a medium accident, a person who dies or suffers serious injury. Now the beautiful thing about this is it has to be investigated. So, hey, I'm getting emissions from my phone, I don't consent to it, it's definitely coming from that satellite, because I've got rid of all the other towers. Excuse me. Okay. All right. Look at that. As soon as it becomes investigated, it's an automatic suspension. Immediately after an accident occurs, a launch permit, exemption certificate, blah, 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 has no effect while the permit or the certificate authorisation has no effect while suspended. Whoa, this is powerful, isn't it? You've got to switch it off, dudes, while it's under investigation. Okay. Who gets the custody of it? If an accident occurs, the space object... Sounds weird, doesn't it? Accident. But clearly, they're taken to be in the minister's custody until an investigator is appointed for the accident. Okay? Now, a person who removes or otherwise interferes with the thing that is in custody of the minister or investigator, as mentioned, commits an offence and it's imprisonment for 6 months. So pretty much a complaint of some sort to your minister might cause some serious... Okay. Now here we go to the report of the investigation. Now when an investigation is completed, the investigator must give the minister a written report. Must give it, not hey, you may, must, that's an obligation. And if the minister requires any relevant documents, records or other things. Subject to such that goes on, No part of a report or other document given to the Minister under this section may be published without the Minister's written approval. Bugger. Oh, bugger. So, we just had an accident. I've just got an investigator involved. Oh, bugger. I can't. Oh, the Minister's going to have it. Do you think the Minister's going to release that to the public? Nah. Yeah. Okay. Disclosure of safety records. It says here, an investor must not, except for the purposes of the act, directly or indirectly, disclose a safety record to any person or court. Now, what do you think I thought when I saw that? I went, oh no, that closes the door. No, it doesn't. Because if you look down here, subsection 1, which is this, does not apply to criminal proceedings, investigations relating to criminal offences, or a proceeding relating to bail. Assault, that's criminal, isn't it? Yeah, bingo. What that means, folks, is that with that, it has to be released to the prosecutor who's prosecuting, and it's, well, technically they're released for a trial. Okay? So even though they try to get out of it up here, isn't this beautiful, this assault business? I really love it. There you go. Okay? Getting really tired. I bet you, I'm told it gets me that you might feel. Now, investigator is this. So let's say the Minister decides I'm doing it myself. Well, then they become the investigating officer, and under a criminal matter, we get those records. Okay, in essence, there it is. Look right into it, folks. Okay, so that's the federal. Now let's have a look at the Federal Register of Legislation, Australian Space Objects. Okay, who has the permits now? And there they are. Satellite operated for by the Department of Defence, Optus Networks, Asia Space Limited, Insultat Asia, Optus Satellite Proprietary Limited, goes on. And there we go, NBN. Okay. Wouldn't it be interesting? Do you guys have insurance? Gosh, I could just imagine these right to information applications going absolutely bunter, absolutely ballistic. All right? Okay. Now this is the UN resolution adopted by the General Assembly, which basically makes states liable for anything that's launched from their property, from their land, but I don't need to go into all that. But what I do want to go through, very quickly, there's a case where Canada sued the Union of Soviet Republics, so the USSR, for damage caused by the Cosmos 954. And that's the entire claim if you want to have a look at it. Okay, let's have a look at the insurance. This is Lloyd's, and you can find this on the internet. And that's the Emerging Risk Team report. And in this, they've got an intro basically saying, oh, we're a bit worried about this electromagnetic radiation stuff. Should we insure companies or not? We're about to close, are we? Okay, looks like we're going to close up. I'll just keep going. Anyway, have a look at that. I've got everything there. But what I really wanted to show you is this. This is CFC. We're just about finished. CFC is the underwriting. That's part of Lloyd's. And you'll see here. Can anyone read that for me, please? Can anyone read that? Okay, so there's electromagnetic fields. So these are exclusions. This is an exclusion clause in the Lloyd's or in the CFC one. And you'll see here, what's excluded is electromagnetic fields directly or indirectly arising out of or resulting from or contributed to by electromagnetic fields, electromagnetic radiation, electromagnetic radio waves, there it is, or noise. Okay? There you go, folks. Thank you. Right, got any questions?
Okay.
Well, this is the issue. See, if
Okay,
we...
so we're just going to, so we got it on record, so can you just repeat the question again?
Yeah, if they won't insure, who picks up the tab?
Well, that's the thing. They have to... Yeah, if they don't insure, who picks up the tab? Well, looking at the Act, it says that they have to come up with at least $750 million in security of some form for each one of their devices, I would assume. And if an accident happens, then the Commonwealth will take over the tab. Not only to us, but also to any foreign power that we happen to contaminate or harm. The taxpayer, yes. Yes. You ask me any question you want on anything I've been talking about, so that's fine.
Obviously, the officials in the government can't go live with some legislation.
Nope.
Can they change that, like,
Of course they can.
overnight and without anyone knowing, and suddenly we wake up and it's no longer?
Well, you're now aware, so what are you going to do? You're right, they can change the law, yes. But the thing is, it's going to be extremely hard for them to change the law in regards to our criminal code. Feds can't touch it. It's a state act. They're state acts. But they might have some sort of agreement with the states in regards to remove assault in regards to electromagnetic radiation, which would be an absolute shame if that does. But I think that will make sense to everybody and make you all aware of how they think if they do that. I hope they don't.
Okay, over here, please, Ray.
Hi. In my local area, the official websites only state that there's one tower that's just gone up, and it's stated as a 4G ready for 5G. But as you heard my daughter earlier, there's actually 3 towers, all the same size, within 500 metres of each other, none of which there's any proposals to put up, let alone the fact that they're actually already erected and they've got the warning signs around them. So what would be my best plan of action, and who would be my best place to go first? The council?
Okay, I've said this before, and I've got plenty of videos out there that say that what you need to do is you need to gather evidence. And the evidence is get a medical opinion first.
Yes.
So, excuse me, doc, or, is this thing gonna, is this a health risk or not? Get the medical report, flick it off to your council, to not only your council, but also your local member, and also flick it off to the telcos. Okay? That sets up the evidence for all of this.
I'm aware of that, but what about the situation that actually, no matter where you look, it only shows there's one existing tower and no proposals for any others, but there's physically already 3.
Well, you just go for the one that you got your sights on. Because you'll see on the EMA report, the RFNSA website, you'll see the EMA report will show you the radiation that's coming from it. And you'll be in one of those circles, I'm sure. And you just go for that one. And then you can go for the other towers if you wanted to. Yeah. They just come, that's correct. Those RFNSA reports are actually done by industry. They're not done by the government. All right, just be aware of that. And I'll tell you what we're doing, well, I know one of the groups that I've been dealing with is buying a NADA 3006 to see if these guys really are telling us what's coming off these things. Okay? We'll go and do our own independent measuring of these towers. All right?
These reports are just a very simple calculation. They're like a line of sight calculation. They don't apply when you've got built-up areas. They really just don't apply because you're getting reflections of buildings and that. So these reports are just basically to pacify people. They're sham, really.
There you go. Thank you, Vic. Any other questions?
Okay, another one up here, please, Ray.
Yep, and I've got a lady over here. Yep.
G'day, buddy. Thanks heaps for your effort, mate.
Hey, you're welcome. Anytime. Yeah.
I understand you've already stolen a few towers. I forget which company it was.
TPG in the whole country.
Yeah. I'm just curious as to why you've stopped with TPG. Why can't we just throw a blanket over the rest of these mobs, mate? You know, like.
Well, hey, look, I can't do it. I have to wait till someone says, "Hey, can you do this for us?" or another lawyer does it. I can't do it all on my own.
I know, I understand.
Yeah,
that,
sorry, that's really what I'm trying to say.
Is throwing a blanket over the rest of the companies with the same footprint, with the same standpoint? Can we throw a blanket over the rest of them?
Yes, but you've got to get the evidence first. Okay? You've got to, first of all, you've got to get the evidence, which is get your medical opinion saying, hey, this thing's I'm concerned about it, and then go and see a lawyer. Okay? And that'll start the whole process. The whole thing is based purely on that one. Now, what the beautiful thing about a medical opinion is this. When I go to court, or a lawyer goes to court, we don't even have to raise one bit about the science. Did you know that? Because it's got nothing to do with the science. It's got to do with whether or not that person had a reasonable fear by looking at what the doctor says that it's going to harm them. It's the reasonable fear or their reasonable belief that it's going to harm them. That's not science. Okay? That's how it works. So that's the crucial point. Get yourself some medical evidence. Okay? Not saying, oh, it's causing me cancer. It's not that sort of stuff. So, excuse me, doc, can you please have a look at the science? The medical advices, go and look at the Bell Initiative report. Go and have a look at that. Please have a read of it. There are some sample medical opinions out on the internet. I know I've got them on my website, which is raybroomhall.com, which is going to come up very soon, which will have all of these documents on there for you. That's raybroomhall.com. And we've also got the ECSFR website doing it as well. So it's the ECSFR. Okay?
The big problem we've got is that the medical fraternity really don't know about this. And they're trying to shut it down. They're trying to shut people talking about this. In particular, Dr. Cooper, he's been outspoken on this issue. And the AMA are just trying to change the rules and shut it off.
My role is to protect him, and Dr. Cooper,
I'm aware of what's going on around us, and the reason why I think a lot of people are here to find out what they actually are going to do. There's no point in shutting one suburb down, and then you go to another suburb that's rolled out 5G. The whole thing is, we are we are a lot together, and I think we need to do some type of class action. I'm prepared to put money in. You know what I mean? We need to do it. It's just the way it is.
You're right. I mean, you're right. I mean, this has really only started coming to the fore in the probably last, 6 months, really. It's really gone ballistic. When I sort of said about the assault issue and other bits and pieces. Look, yes, you're right. At the moment, we're doing spot fires, putting out, Wilson's Creek, for example, Lillian Rock. I think we had a win just the other day. Is that right, Victoria? Yeah. Yeah, we stopped that. We had 5G. That was the one that Dr. Cooper was talking about at Coogee. We had that one there. There was 900 that had already been installed, small cell facilities on power poles, and a further 1,600 were going to be proposed to be put out. So that was a full up about 2,500 facilities we got rid of in one go. But what I'm saying to you is that yes, it needs to have some sort of coordination. I don't know, maybe forming a political party or something. I don't know. Hint, hint. But something. Get together. Most political parties only start up with 500 members. That's all you need for a federal parliament. And I can tell you now, I'm talking thousands of people who know about this, who have come to these rallies and these sort of events. So it shouldn't be too hard to put that together. All right? All right. Does that sort of answer some sort of questions? I think FOI... Pardon? Oh, I don't know about that. Yes. That's why I'm here. All right, Paul?
I just wanted to ask, are there many other members of your profession who are on board with this?
Of course. We saw Peter Slipper, the ex-Speaker of the House, right at the start of this conference. He's on board and he's working on it. I've got Greg Malik, SC. Greg Malik, all right, you want to know who he is? Greg Malik is the Integrity Commissioner for Tasmania. He is also the Deputy President of the Administrative Appeals Tribunal. He's also your National President for the RSL. What else can I tell you? He used to be a statutory board member of the National Crime Authority, and I'm also up here for an International Criminal Reform Conference. He's the president of that. Very highly esteemed barrister. I work with him. To give an idea, Greg appeared on one of these assault matters in Queensland as my senior, and he settled my work on regards to that. So yes, we do have some powerful people. There are a lot of lawyers who are coming out of the woodwork now, starting to realise that, well, I was the first one to stick my neck out, but they're all starting to come out now. And a lot of my colleagues, I've got some class action people, one that worked very heavily with the Victorian bushfires thing, won an $80 million settlement. Yeah, class action is probably the way to go. Answering your question, okay. Let's do it. Sounds easier than it is, but the thing is, with a class action, you all have to have evidence to join part of the class. Does that make sense? You've got to have that evidence. I can't really publish that list, but there are a list of doctors, yes, there's quite a few of them. To give you an idea that Coogee, myself, I was engaged to help the Coogee residents. There were 8 medical doctors on that street who were specialists in their field, 8 of them. Okay? When we turned up in front of the council, we had 14 of them. And guess who was heading it? Dr. Cooper. And they all backed up exactly what Dr. Cooper was saying. Okay? Dr. Cooper, the reason I got him in the first place some years ago was because he was in a case called McDonald and Comcare. I don't know if you ever heard of that. That's the first time the electromagnetic hypersensitivity was actually raised in a workers' compensation case, and he won. He was the expert witness. The witnesses that were for the Commonwealth were Dr. Bruce Hocking, so he's obviously, you know, think about that for a moment. And the other one was Vitus Anderson, and you're probably familiar with him, Vic. Who's Vitus?
Yeah, basically, he's a mouthpiece for the telcos as far as I'm concerned.
I didn't say that. But there you go. All right, so I guess, look, we're at the start of all this, and I think the real issue with this is to educate as many people as possible. That's the only way you're going to win this thing, really. Why do you think I'm here? To try and spread the word and educate, tell as many lawyers as you can, show them this, hey guys, you know, let's get into it, okay? Yep, okay, Paul?
Good old Brad, yeah, thanks a lot, well done on your effort, mate. I'm glad you're on our side. I just want to know a quick one. Hopefully it's not too left field about things, but I know someone from Happy High Herbs that got a court decision about a certain herb, and then they actually went down and overthrew it after he was approved. So would there be any possible way that they could go back on the towers that you stopped and say, no, hang on mate, we're going to go back and overthrow that, or they could...
Yeah, they can appeal it. Yeah, of course, they can appeal decisions, so it's just like anything. So if you win a court case, well, of course they're going to appeal the decision.
Yeah, so the class action, the more people would sort of put them off, do you reckon? Okay,
well the beautiful thing about a class action is this, so I can get 7 of you, because you need 7 as a minimum to start. By the way, you don't need thousands of people for a class action. It's got to represent
tell you what, it's a little bit worrying when you get something in the mail and it looks like this. G'day guys. Trust me to pick a day where there's no sun to do a video about solar panels. So this morning I woke up, it was beautiful blue skies. I have no idea what's happened. But anyway, let's talk about solar panels. So this was the first solar panel that I got. I've had a couple over the years. So this is a projector unit. It's a foldable solar panel, 80 watt, cost me $400 at the time. And that's done really, really well. It's cool because, you know, you can set that up in the sun, you can have your car